This is Back to Back.
All right, let's do this, guys. How are you? Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. My name is Willy Joy. Thanks for joining me. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. If you're tuning back in, welcome back. Thank you guys to everyone who's been listening to the first month of episodes so far. If you missed any of them, just go back, scroll back in your feed. They're all there, up for free. Some really good conversations, a lot of great information, inspiration, jokes, anything you're looking for. We got it here at Back to Back. So go back and check them out. Thank you guys so much for all the love on the show so far. If you are enjoying this, if you want to hear more, the best way to support me doing this is just to subscribe to the show. Super easy. Just click the little subscribe button. Every time I post a new episode, it'll just pop up right on your screen, your phone, your computer, your teletype machine, your Zune, your iPod, your tape player, whatever you're using to listen to this podcast, that's where it'll be. If you really like the show, please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. And that way we get in the charts there. That helps us get advertisers. That helps us reach out to people we don't know to come on the show. And I'm just going to keep pushing to make this bigger and better for you guys. This is only episode number 5, and we've already come a long way. I can't believe how many of you guys are here listening with me, and we're just going to keep growing it from here. So that being said, let's get into it today. I just flew back in from Philadelphia, played a great show there last night. Outdoor show, kind of block party vibes. I got to preview my new remix for Herobust that's actually coming out this week, June 14th. It's a whole remix EP on Mad Decent. Obviously, the whole original Herobust record is amazing, one of my favorite records of this year. Anyway, it went off. It was great. I'm going to post a little video up to my socials probably today. But it was a quick trip, less than 24 hours there and back. I'm back in California now. And my guest today is the legendary Keys N Krates. I was psyched to have these guys on the show. They're good friends of mine. We go back a ways. And I just think they occupy such an interesting space in the dance music world. They're a 3-piece live band, but at a lot of their shows, especially the big festivals, they're on lineups with a lot of other DJs playing DJ sets. And the music itself is just so cool and so interesting. Tons of different influences in there, from old UK rave stuff to hip-hop to trap to left field electronica, vibey stuff, indie stuff. And they make it in a different way because they're making it to be performed by a live band. And we talk about all of that and more, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Really quickly, I wanted to mention, I saw that this week Don Diablo had posted up something on his Facebook page, basically saying that he wasn't going to be working with Ultra Music Festival anymore. And he had made that decision because he had felt disrespected by them when he showed up a few minutes late to play overseas in Asia, I believe, one of their events. And I guess they were rude to him or said some things that didn't really sit right with him. I don't know the whole story. It was just really interesting to me because he was mainly saying that a lot of DJs felt this way and that no one was willing to speak up about it because they were worried about losing their status with the festival or with Ultra or just hurting their business in general. And I just wanted to kind of give my support to him. I've never met Don Diablo, and nor have I worked with Ultra, so I'm a complete outsider observer here, but I think it's really important for more artists to just speak up about the business side and what we go through. And there's just so much politics and maneuvering and drama that goes on behind the scenes of setting up a major festival like this. Everyone's trying to jockey for placement, set times, billing, flyer font size. There's a million different things, and how stressful it can be for an artist's whole team and for the promoters themselves. I'm not siding with the artist because I'm an artist as well. It's a complicated process, and it's one that I wish people would see a little more of, because I think then people would understand more of how the booking world works. And I'm actually right now working on getting some promoters on the show, some people who throw some really big events. And that'll be really cool too, because I really want to shine some light on their end and see what they deal with on a daily basis and what their goals are and kind of what drives them. But anyway, I just thought it was cool that Don Diablo actually spoke up about this issue he was having, right or wrong. And hopefully more people on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, will feel empowered to just speak up when they feel they need to. So for this episode with Keys N Krates, we recorded it in the basement level of a hotel, kind of in a little conference room there. We were drinking some beer, having some laughs. It was a really good time. I do want to tell you guys there's a couple audio issues with this recording. My first choice of location wasn't available, and so we ended up kind of in this larger echoey room. And when Greg, the DJ from Keys N Krates, is speaking, you'll hear the space in the room a little more. There's just some reverb on it. It doesn't affect the conversation, doesn't change anything, but I did just want to let you guys know, if you're wondering why it sounds that way, that's why. But it's such a good conversation. I still wanted to give it to you guys, let you hear it. We had such a great time recording it, and I think that really comes across. And we really covered everything from, their early days to what they're up to now, the new album they're working on. I loved hearing them talk about how they see the Keys N Krates project fitting into the greater dance music world. And I really love these guys. We've played a bunch of shows together over the years. They're those kind of people where you can go from having really deep philosophical conversations about art and film and music to talking about life on the road, to just, really cracking each other up, saying the stupidest stuff, all in the space of a couple minutes. And they're just the nicest dudes of all time. They're Canadian, which helps. The stereotype of all Canadians being nice is basically completely true in my experience. And I love Canada in general. Everyone I meet from there, all the artists, all the people, the best. Canada was one of the first countries to show me love when I first started getting on the road, and I talk about that a little bit in this interview too. But yeah, Keys N Krates, they're a live band, and everything they play is 100% live, and I think it's really important to note that. I think that's an amazing part of what they do. If you haven't seen them live, I highly recommend you go check them out. They're working on a new album right now. We talk about that a little bit in the conversation. No release date yet. They're still deep in the lab, but definitely be on the lookout for that. They've won a Much Music Video Award, which is the Canadian equivalent of an MTV Video Award. They've won a Juno Award, which is the Canadian equivalent of a Grammy. And, their discography speaks for itself. You know them. I don't really need to go into it. Like I said, when we recorded this, we were in a hotel basement. They were about to do a Keys N Krates DJ set, which is a new thing for them. And they're having a lot of fun with it. We talk about that off the bat. We drank some beers. We had some laughs. I think you guys are going to love this. So let's get into it right now. This is me with Keys N Krates. Let's go. That's a funny jumping off point because you guys are out here doing like the Keys N Krates DJ set.
Yeah.
And so what is your experience as far as like people's expectations when they come to see a Keys N Krates DJ sets versus sort of what you want to give them?
There's a couple levels to this, I think. Like, first of all, I think the three of us, it was like an adjustment. Just the concept of doing a DJ set for the three of us was just a weird adjustment because we're so used to being like this three-piece band. Like ever since we started, that's what we did.
And this is a recent thing, right?
Yeah, the DJ set thing is like a recent thing. And
you were at our first one.
Was I really?
Yeah, that was the first one.
That was the first one?
That was literally the first time.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't you remember our conversation?
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? Do I just stand here? And you're like, yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, that's what we do, man. That's what DJs do. That's crazy that was the first one. I didn't realize at the time. That was so fun because, you didn't know what to do with yourself. And like, I was kind of just hanging back by the booth with you. And then at some point, I was like not trying to just be standing next to you guys the whole time while you were performing, kind of doing nothing. And then I went to leave, and you were like, "No, don't leave."
No, don't leave. Don't leave. Yeah. I'm awkward.
Yeah. You're like my little guardian angel that day.
Oh my God.
Well, I think everyone was fairly high too from that weed chocolate.
Yeah, that as well.
I don't think I had any.
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's evened out now. Like,
Well, you know what? Like for us, I think it was like weird at first, and then we just got comfortable. Like I got like kind of loosened up and warmed up back into DJing. So I think collectively we got more confident in like the set and stuff, and then these guys got comfortable just like hosting and being just like a presence, you know, and it's just like a sound.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, it's just something different. It's fun. It's like fun for us to go and just like play music we like. These guys like give me music too to play. It's all like from the energy of like the band and what the band's into. And it's just like a sound. But like in terms of expectations, like I was like, oh, like we all have always had the fear of like, what if the kid comes to see us and they think like we're gonna play live and then we do a DJ set and they like hate us or something.
Right.
And it's like we kind of realize not like a really real fear, because kids will come out and they see DJ set and they choose whether they want to come or not. And
Right.
then if they come to it, they like it or they don't, you know?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like another dimension to our act, and I don't think we could be like afraid to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, maybe in a way, it's a cool way for you guys to like define where you think you belong, you know, in the grand sphere of like everyone making electronic music right now.
Yes.
So I feel like I see you guys on, you know, different festival bills or different stages, and sometimes the people you're playing next to, like you guys are not only the only band, but also kind of like the only one in your style of music.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, everyone else just banging it out from like 1 p.m. onwards with like super EDM stuff. Do you feel like now or in the past you had a problem of people kind of not knowing how to categorize you? Or like,
I still think we have that problem. I mean, I think at one point, when we first start off, before that, you know, the whole trap scene started, we had this like video that was like, what is Keys N Krates? Where we went around to a bunch of DJ friends of ours and had a video of them trying to describe what we were. And the joke was that no one could really describe to someone who we were and what we were. And I think for us, we decided that we were just these guys who make weird rap beats and we play them live, you know, and we just melt the genres that we all like together and try to do it in a way that we feel comfortable presenting our brand of electronic music. There's quite a bit of music out there that we don't find fits us, and we're just like, well, we don't want to be that, we don't want to be this, we don't want to be that. What are we? We're like, we're just doing what we do, and it's been working, and we don't know if we've ever really been fully classified in the way that even we know what it is, but so far it doesn't seem to stop what we do. And
I think that's good, man. I think you don't want to be fully classified, you know?
But yeah, to answer your question, we have felt like that, though. That results, I think, and you get onto festival lineups and you're like, they put you next to things and you're like, why are we playing after and before that? Like, it's so weird, but it is weird. It's a weird feeling.
Going back to what you said, Matisse, talking about how you guys wanted to define yourselves, let's take it back a little further to sort of when you started playing. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but we played a show together, I think in the very early days of Keys N Krates, probably like 2009-ish or so. It was in Chicago in this tiny little place called J Bar. That was this tiny little hotel lounge club in the bottom of the James Hotel in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was like just a tiny room. It probably held like 100 people at most. And
it was put on by that like clothing store, like
Leaders, I think, or
no, it was,
Juggernaut.
No, it was the other. It was like the crazy spot, like the Don C spot. Was involved.
Yeah. Okay,
whatever that place is called.
Man.
Or we went there. We did like an interview. I remember that, and then we had like that show in like the basement of that hotel.
Yeah. I think it was like maybe a Wednesday night. They used to do a Wednesday thing. I think Mano was somehow involved in putting it on.
Were we on the floor?
Yeah,
like there was
a
no
real
stage.
makeshift stage. I think I sort of remember that too.
It was like just a tiny square room. But anyway, the point being that like, and I was just a local DJ at that point, just playing another show. And I didn't really know much about you guys. And I think at that point you were kind of doing the like live band versions of,
Live
hip hop
remixes,
songs, like live
yeah.
remixes and all that. Was there a point from there to where you are now? Like, was there kind of one, revelation of, we could really make this an original group? Or was it just sort of a slow replacing of, the old like remixes with your newer material?
Yeah, I think we kind of just got bored eventually, and then we started messing around. Like it kind of happened gradually. I think we were just like, oh, what if we do this with this? And we tried in the show with Ableton or whatever, and then we would end up making a beat, and we're like, oh, maybe we should make more beats. And we kind of learned to become producers together, like kind of on Ableton.
I do remember a breakthrough though was when we started messing with his kit and getting the electronic drums in there. Because for a long time we had that just regular kick drum that was just analog.
I remember that, yeah.
And then we started trying to layer it with a couple different sounds, and that was a sound for a minute. And then we just said, you know what? Fuck the regular kick drum. Let's just go electronic. And we were able to give them those 808s, and I think we're like, I feel like there was a real change in our sound from that move.
How did you feel about that, Adam? Like when you made that, were you resistant to going electronic?
Super. I was a purist. I was like, no, there has to be real kick drum and it has to be real snare. And now none of my kit is real.
Right.
And in fact, I don't even own a real kit anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I sold it like, I can't remember how many years ago, but it's been years since I've actually played an acoustic kit.
I can actually relate. I don't own like vinyl turntables anymore.
Right.
And I used to own, you probably still own a bunch, but
Yeah.
I used to own, I think I had
Where do you guys keep all your old records now? Like,
I have a bunch in storage, and I sold a bunch of my records too. I cut it down to I still have probably a good 10 crates or so that are just like I can't part with them.
Right.
But I used to have, probably 5 times that. I'm sure, as
I sold all mine.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to, because I was like in a condo, and like they were literally they were in my parking space. And the building's like, these have to go, or we're gonna take them.
has that ever come back to haunt you? Like, have you ever been like, man, I miss those? Or
Nah,
not
I'm not like precious about possessions like that.
Yeah.
Like I loved vinyl growing up, and there was like wholly a romantic attachment. Just because when I started, it's like records were like I was like, to see vinyl and be able to take it and like manipulate it. It was like the coolest thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it's like I just wanted the music. And then once Serato happened, I'm like, well, I can do this on Serato. Like, I don't really care.
That's a progressive attitude, because you have a pretty strong like DMC turntablist background,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I feel like most of those dudes, those are the old guard that just won't let that shit go.
I mean, I feel like, though, the DMCs are about, like, we're always about being progressive, you know what I mean?
That's true.
And I think, like, if you talk to the majority of battle DJs, they all embrace like Serato.
I guess
and
at
stuff
this
like
point,
that.
yeah.
They like, it may have taken them a minute, but they did. I don't know. I think it's about the.
If you're rolling it with 7 crates deep of a DJ, you're holding on to something that no
Just
one.
not a good look. Yeah.
Oh, hey, nah, you know what? There's people that are like, oh, I want to do like all vinyl parties, or I want to do like all 45 parties. And I'm like, yo, cool, man. Like, if that's your vibe and that's like your aesthetic, or like, it's just like it's just like part of your whole like vibe, I respect it. It's cool. But, it doesn't make Serato or like music coming off like a time code vinyl that's recorded properly and sound great. Like, not relevant. It's all relevant.
How old were you when you were winning those championships and, really going in on the turntablist side?
20 to like 22 is like when I like won shit.
Yeah.
that
And
mattered.
what did you win?
I won like the world ITFs for beat juggling, the national DMCs, like Canadian DMCs, and then just like some smaller battles and stuff like that.
And was that kind of the same era as, say A-Track and them?
Yeah, like it was kind of right after them. Like A-Track and like Craze was like, they were like judging me in a lot of battles and stuff like that. And they did an annual battle called the Allies Beatdown that was like invitational. I did that like 3 years in a row, and I always did shit in that. I never performed good in that.
Just because of nerves, or?
I don't know. Actually, maybe partially because the judging panel was so insane for that. It was always like them who at the time, like Craze, A-Track, Infamous, and like Develop, like the Allies. They were like the new school crew that were like doing the dopest shit. So like it was like them, and then they would have like all these like legends with them, like the X-Men, or like some of the Scratch Pickles would come, or Z-Trip, or like Shadow or Radar. And it was just like fucking daunting.
Yeah.
Like it was daunting. Like it was like next level, like judging panels. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But then I guess I think I had other battles that were like, the judging panels were really crazy too. So I don't know.
Are all you guys from Toronto originally?
In and around.
Close by, in and around.
Yeah, close enough. What did you do as a kid? Like, how'd you get into music?
Well, I was
Matisse?
always playing the keys. Like I was playing keys since I was 4, and I don't know, I grew up actually in London, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half outside of Toronto.
I've played London. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then I remember I got into music probably when I was 15 or 16. My brother, who was 4 years older than me, we were both in classical training piano, and he had just gotten his grade 8 from the Royal Conservatory. So my mom, as a gift, bought him like this nice, shiny new Chord Trinity workstation that took floppy disks that you could make beats and sequences on. And I mean, when I saw that, I was hooked. And that was right when the Neptunes were coming with their sound and Swizz was doing his sound. So everyone had that keyboard. And so I would just go home and try to, I'd hear a Neptune's beat, I'd hear a Swizz beat, and I'd try to make my own. And then started messing around with rappers in the city and was like a producer in this little small camp down there.
Oh, okay.
And then...
were you working with anyone who ever kind of broke out?
There was this guy from London, he's still one of my best friends, named Sean Booth, who had like a bit of a smaller career in Toronto for a while. He won a couple Junos and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of it was just local, like rappers and stuff. And then from there, I went to Fanshawe and took music business, and I met this guy pretty much on the first day. There was a music project. The project was to meet people by starting a band and to get to know people. And I think we just kind of gravitated to each other and thought we were, I was like, you're cool. He's like, that's well.
I saw a black musician, so I decided.
That's pretty much what it was. We were like probably the only two black guys in the course.
I thought he had to be good, and I was completely fucking wrong. He sucked.
15 years later, he says we were completely wrong. But
when you started that
15
sentence,
years.
How long has it been now?
Wow.
Has it been
More
longer?
than 15 years.
Yeah, so we've been working together since that first day at college.
And this
kinda came together
motherfucker
'cause we
cheated
were
off
bored.
me the whole entire college time as well.
Oh, yeah. It was
Never
awesome.
studied, always looking over my shoulder.
So wait, what kind of school was this? Was this a...
This was like a rock and roll college. It's like...
That
It's
doesn't
where
sound
it's-
like a real thing.
It was like, it's where like old producers like retire.
Go to die.
And they teach young producers. It was like real old school. It was like
Jack Richardson?
Jack
Which
Richardson.
he produced The Who or something?
yeah, he produced like Alice Chains.
Oh, wow, okay. So like pretty legit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
it was
he's
good rock-
produced
good rock guys, yeah.
produced everybody, and
That's crazy.
yeah, and he was like the big guy there who was head of the production department. Yeah, that school was pretty crazy. That's where like a lot of like Canadian producers and engineers kind of came out. Like it was kind of like a little boys club. If you came from there, you would get a job like
That's interesting.
at one of the studios.
That's cool because I feel like most of those schools you hear about, because there's a lot of them and they're almost all scams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this was before all those came
Okay.
about. It's like a real community college.
Yeah,
one.
maybe that's similar to like, have you heard of Icon Collective in LA? It's sort of like a producer. It's more on the like just EDM side, but it's for electronic production.
Yeah.
And they've had a bunch of success stories come out of there, and a lot of the like current crop of, super successful DJs are coming back there to give a seminar or give a talk or whatever.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, seems like maybe one of the I haven't actually been there, but maybe one of the only like legit, if you want to be a producer and you want to go to school,
Yeah.
kind of places.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Matisse and I have never been asked to go back to that school to give a lecture.
really?
No.
But we played shows there, and they didn't realize that we were part of the same school. Like,
Really?
Keys N Krates is coming. Who are these guys? We're like, our plaque is on the wall where we went to your school 4 years ago. Just weird, anything. But it was a cool experience. I did cheat off him, I'm proud to say, for most of the
So
time.
what kind of tests were they giving?
They were ridiculous tests. There was stuff on what was that keyboard? There was a certain keyboard. They had this Yamaha X7 keyboard, and they had this brilliant idea to teach you MIDI.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had this brilliant idea to teach you MIDI mapping as a course. So 0-1 AB binary circuitry at 8 a.m. on Monday mornings.
Wow.
So guess who's not going? Matisse. I'm not going ever to that class. So I was never going to go to that class. And at the end of the year, I basically relied on Tune. I said, I need your help to get me through this class and get
Right.
through this test. So we had one of those amazing kind of classes where you could sit at the front, and because all the seats would kind of go up, the teacher would look at the back to make sure no one was cheating back there. But if you're at the front, you could kind of just do your thing. He kind of look over you.
And our teacher was also drinking rum and cokes the whole time.
Really?
Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah, that was the running joke.
That's incredible, actually.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
Professor Brule.
He taught music business, or the music business one. I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah.
It's terrible.
As far as like just growing up in Toronto, I mean, what was it like at that time? Because for me, I wasn't born in Chicago, but Chicago is where I call home. And I always felt like there was a certain kinship between Chicago and Toronto. Like I would travel there, especially in my early days of touring. I was in Toronto a lot. And I would always feel sort of at home, even though I didn't really know anything about the city. But do you guys feel, I mean, was it as far as a place to grow up? I mean, Matisse, I know you say you weren't in the city itself, but has it changed a lot?
There used to be so when I was growing up, like I was in so many like Battle of the Bands. That whole thing, like there was so many live music clubs.
Yeah.
And that's kind of shrunk a lot. Like a lot of the music, like the live band kind of music
We had a
clubs.
very vibrant like soul scene that was kind of like
That was
almost like a
huge.
Canadian neo soul.
Really?
Yeah, there was a ton of talented musicians and singers that were down there. You could go every night of the week and see a live singer perform. And there's people would be packed and people would be dancing, and they had their own favorites, and these singers would sing for 2-3 hours straight, just blowing out hits, like phenomenal talent and stuff.
And was it one of those things where like they were kind of celebrities in the city?
In that small
Remember
scene.
Monday Night Jam?
Yeah,
That was the big one. That's where like Justin Timberlake would come when he came to Toronto.
Oh, wow.
That was like the
who else,
DMCs
like-
for us, where you go there and you'd be like, oh, I gotta go on stage. You gotta shred with like these heavy bass
Right.
players who played in like famous bands, and and just to get noticed, if you could just go on stage with them, you felt like you'd made, if someone looked at you and said you did good as a drummer or musician, you'd feel, whatever. You just had to go up there and just jump in and just start playing. And
Was it
really
just kind of
cool.
like an open keys situation?
You're kind of like open, but
Yeah.
you had to be part of that list of people who you would even dare to go up unless you were confident that if you went up, you could hold your own. 'Cause
Right.
That'd be it. If you went up and you weren't good, you wouldn't come back for months until you were.
No.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You get that reputation.
Yeah.
They welcome everybody, but not really. You put your name on the list, but that list was just super long and your name never came up.
Right. So, Greg, how did you meet up with these guys then, if they were playing together? Sort of when did you enter the picture?
I met Matisse through a mutual friend, Abby. I think we were both like at the time just like trying to jam with different people and like just try new ideas.
Were you, as a DJ, were you kind of in the mindset that you wanted to, branch out from just DJing?
Yeah. I was kind of like playing clubs, and I was like, I had a period where after the battle stuff, I was like, there was like a 4-year stretch where I was like, after battling and stuff, I was like kind of finishing school and figuring out what I wanted to do and like playing like nightclubs. And like the nightclub thing kind of like crushed my soul because I came up as like a scratch DJ, like a hip hop scratch DJ, and a nerd kind of way. And I grew up going to hip hop shows, and I grew up in that kind of scene. And then it was like kind of fun to play clubs for, because I'm like, oh, I'm playing and at that time, like club music was dope. And I liked the R&B stuff too. So it was like just fun to do. But then after a while, it's just like you're playing like bottle service clubs, right? So you're like, oh, this kind of sucks, and it's like, it's really boring, and I'm used to being like this creative dude, you do like weird stuff, and people are into that. That's like the essence of turntablism. Like, you're doing weird stuff, and people are into it. I
don't get it.
What's that?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I think we can make that the official definition of turntable.
I know.
People are into it.
But that's not what you're doing in a nightclub, like party rocking, and especially party rocking for like, kind of club crowds, like the just general club crowds, is like, it's
people who may or may not care about your technical ability.
Yeah, or like music in general.
Yeah.
It's just like, it kind of crushes your soul a bit. So, I just wanted to do something different. And I wasn't like at the point yet where I was like, I really want to start producing right now. It was more like, I'd like to play with some like musicians and like make a unique like live project. That was kind of like the idea. And then we hooked up and we started jamming, and then Matisse brought like Tune into the picture because he's a drummer and he's angry, you know. So
is that true? Are you angry?
No,
Adam?
actually, I'm quite calm. I don't give a fuck about anything anymore.
he's a
Throw
nihilist
suitcases
now.
around parking lots, but that was a long time ago.
You got all that. You sweated all the
So,
rage.
Yeah.
Just worked through all that.
Tired.
Yeah, he's just exhausted now. He's just like, oh, fuck it.
The world's most tired drummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of it. And then we jammed and we just started playing like little shows and then it.
Was it just sort of a slow, steady growth as far as like you play some local shows?
Yeah, I remember it kind of being a bit more like, for me, it was really cool because actually he's kind of only half saying, like you had done that symphony thing, which he was kind of already starting to play with these musicians. And I'd want to do this jam where we were doing this band stuff and we wanted to work with another DJ and do this other thing. And then someone had told me, hey, there's this guy, I think Abby said, there's this guy named Junior Flo who's doing something that I think you want to do, you should check him out. And I remember going to check your night out on that King West thing that was up in that.
Yeah,
that place
it's a weird
called.
venue, yeah.
Yeah, and I was so I want to be a part of this. It's crazy. I'm doing it, And then I think I met up with you, I think the first time at one of those diners. I remember going to get something to eat with you or something and talking about doing this idea. And then we started to get together and started kind of just jamming the two of us. And we're kind of like thinking maybe that would work. And then I told Tune to come in and we started rehearsing for like 5 or 6 months before we even could figure out what the hell we were in. Like, I remember the first days trying to get you and me to even explain to him how we jammed. Do you remember we had sheets of paper where we were trying to write out what a song would actually be?
Yeah, because there was no real chorus or anything. So we were
know
like
what a song was.
Part A to C to part A.
We were trying to come up with compositions.
Yeah, so it was like you kind of made up your own notation.
Like Flo would be like, I have this Fuji sample and let's try some shit. We're like, okay. And we're like, so we'd sit there and we just try to figure out what would even how do you make a sample a song? So we spent like 5 or 6 months doing it, and then we were like, we got something, let's put a show on. And then I remember like Tune and I had played so many jams in the city where it was like, we're playing that live soul circuit and it's just like hit and miss. You might play a 3-hour set, and there might be 15 people or 50 people and stuff. And then for some reason, I guess when we put that show on, the word got out that we were all working together and it was like packed.
Yeah.
And there was all this buzz and we were like, what? I was like, that's crazy. And we did the show, and at that point we had a bass, we had Drew playing with us. We had a bass guitar player in the band. And did we not have was it 4 of us or was there 5?
It was 4.
There was 4. So it was 4 of us on stage, and we played in this tiny club, and it was packed. And I remember we were playing all their jams, and everything went off. Like, we play Fuji Law remix, and people were like, yeah! And we play, like, Tribe Called Quest, and they're like, yeah! And we're all, like, getting all excited and everything.
Yeah.
And then someone was YouTubing it. Someone was taping the show. And then we got the footage back, and we put it up on YouTube. And then the YouTube clips caught fire or something like that. And then I think Abby, our mutual friend, also was also who's in business with us, said, hey, this thing has some legs. Let's, do you guys want some management or something? And I don't even remember what happened next, but I just remember next thing we're flying to Vancouver.
Yeah, I think he said, do you want some money?
I can get you some more money or something.
I will lend you some money.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah. And then we started just kind of playing in Vancouver, and we got flown around places, and I just remember you and me being on the first flight being like, oh my God, we're flying to a gig or something. And like, it was surreal for me back then, because it's like, that was the first time I'd ever seen a project actually like take off.
Right. And it sounds like it happened pretty fast from like
The initial
first.
did,
Well, it just went from being like nothing to kind of something really fast.
Right.
Well, Red
And-
Bull actually took us around quite a bit at the beginning.
Yeah, we got
Red Bull
we had a good
Carboners.
relationship with Red Bull through like I was doing like DJ work for them, and they kind of just like threw money at this and like got us shows right away.
Yeah.
So were they
Stuff.
running kind of like branded tours at
Yeah,
that point?
Yeah, it was like Masters of the Remix type.
right. I feel like, at that time it was them and Scion and kind of nobody
Yeah.
else.
Shout out Kenny Mack, by the way, because he was one of the first guys that kind of like brought us on and stuff.
Booked
like
us,
that.
yeah. He was like the first one to be like,
guys have
here's money to
something.
do this.
Put his weight behind Red Bull and said, book these guys on the road. And then I think we crossed Canada a few times with like Grand Theft at the time. And who else did we go on the road with? A couple other people.
Yeah, well, we first were touring with like Team Canada. Like it was
Yeah.
like
Oh,
Aaron,
yeah.
Aaron and Raph's like
Yeah.
Grand Theft and like DR1, his old partner from that project.
Yeah, I haven't. What is DR1 up to? I used to love that guy, man. I haven't seen him in so long.
He's dope. Yeah, he's a good dude. I mean, he's in Montreal Montreal. He's like married now, and he's got like
They don't still run the Blue Dog, do they?
he does. Yeah,
Really?
well, at least last time I saw him, he did. He still ran it, and he's got some other spots too. I think he has like another club or bar, not club, but like another bar. Like I feel like he's kind of just getting into that. Like he's
Yeah.
getting into the like kind of bar like venue.
Okay.
Shit
The
in
Blue
Montreal.
Dog was the first place I ever played in Montreal.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This was so dope.
Oh, I had such a good time. I was so stoked to be there.
Yeah.
The whole thing was very like a kind of out of a movie. Like I was playing for, basically less than the cost of me getting to Montreal.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping in Hatchmatic's like dance studio attic.
Nice.
That he like somehow owned or ran a dance studio during the day, and he was letting me sleep in basically like the crawl space above it.
Man, I had no idea you went back that far too. Like, were you under like Willy Joy as the name too?
Yeah, it was still Willy Joy.
That's when you were doing like the treble and bass stuff, right?
Yeah, it was around the treble and bass, and even a little before that.
Yeah.
Kind of back in the hollerboard days.
Oh, yeah.
But Canada showed me love before the States did, really. Like some of the
Interesting.
first out-of-town shows I played were in Canada.
Oh, crazy.
I had like a residency at the Drake
Yeah.
in Toronto for like a year and a half, kind of way before I should have had a residency anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so I traveled around to Toronto a lot, Montreal a little bit, and the others, like I hit them way early in my career. I would find myself in Winnipeg like on a random Saturday night, and then go back to Chicago and have no shows for 2 months. It was that kind
I
of
feel
thing.
like Canada, like between like Small Town Pete and like Mike in Calgary, like the Navs of the world, and like Toronto, and like like the dudes in Ottawa, and like the Hatchmatics and stuff in Montreal. There was like always really good outreach during that like kind of like Bloghouse era to US dudes like yourself who were like doing stuff, and
I think it was
there's like an effort to build.
Once you got in on the circuit, you were like everyone kind of the word got out,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh well, if he played at the Drake or if he played at Babylon, and
he must be
he's
all right.
he must and he's American, because I think not a lot of American DJs, at least doing the kind of like mashup blog house, whatever trendy style. There weren't that many American DJs in Canada yet.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think I got lucky and kind of just coasted on that wave for a little bit.
Yeah, it was a fun time. That was when we were just like getting started, and we were like seeing all that, and that was like, we're like, oh, this is what's going on in electronic music now.
Right. Were you sort of trying to fit in with that at that point?
Yeah, because we didn't know what we were yet. We're like this like hip hop cover band, but I was always like, I don't really want to play for hip hop crowds because like they're boring as shit unless you're like a rapper with like big songs. It's like it's pretty boring to play to like a hip hop crowd because they really just want to hear songs that they know are like relevant to them at that moment. And if you're not playing that, it's not, so I was always into the idea of like, the jam scene and the electronic scene for us just being somewhere where we could just like do what we wanted, and like.
Was it kind of a scene back then? Like I know Thunder Heist was around kind of the same era.
I don't know if there's ever really been a scene at that point. It was just like
In Toronto? Of like the indie dance stuff?
Yeah, like, if there was sort of just a community of like, everyone who was trying to do the same kind of thing.
Yeah, there was a bit of a scene for sure between like Keith, who's now like autoerotic, like who's like, he was Vandalism then.
Oh man,
And
I don't
then,
even know if I knew that.
They just knew each other. Like Wrong Bar was kind of the center of it.
Yeah.
Like it was like Wrong Bar and The Social, and they were all those like, there was like Mastercraft in Toronto. They were at the like helm, and they were connected to everybody like internationally. And there was definitely a scene there with like Nav and Wrong Bar and all that stuff. You just weren't really involved in it, but it was there. And with Aaron and like the A Team and like that whole like the DJ scene that was kind of sort of peripherally involved in that stuff. So yeah, there was kind of.
Yeah, now that you're listing, man, I forgot how many like great acts Toronto kind of birthed around that time. I forgot. That's crazy. Autoerotic used to be Vandalism. I completely forgot that.
Yeah, making like Toll Bloghouse.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, he had jams too. He still has jams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that dude a lot.
Yeah, that Whitney Houston flip or whatever. Was like I'm Every Woman or something? Was that his?
Man,
Am I imagining that?
No, I mean, that exists. That's a song that exists for sure. A Bloghouse Whitney Houston song.
Yeah.
I will guarantee you that's a song that exists. I don't know if that was him, though.
I might be imagining that. I don't know. I haven't gone back and like reminisced.
Right.
Pushed up on your blog house history.
There's a lot to it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone the other day. It's like hard to convey to the younger kids who are just getting into the scene now that at a certain point, there were specific websites you would go to, and that was the only way to find out about new cool music.
Yeah.
Was like these 4 or 5 sites.
Disco Bell, Palms Out.
Yeah, Gotta Dance Dirty.
Gotta
Gotta Dance Dirty.
Yeah.
We were trying to get on all of
We
those.
we always we did so many, like when we finally broke into kind of finding our place in electronic music, that was like God Dance Dirty was like we did like every premiere with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually, for me too.
They had like great traction.
They supported me really early on.
I remember celebrating when Disco Bell.
Yeah, we were so
What
psyched.
about Nile Right?
Disco
Nile Right,
Bell
did that
post
help us too? Why do I remember Nile Right?
Nile Right's a rap blog.
So were we ever trying to get on there?
Not really.
They
I mean,
ever
I think
show
we
us?
did get. I don't know. So we've been on that blog before
Probably in
for
the
stuff.
modern era too,
Yeah.
because you guys have done stuff with rappers, more recently. But it's funny to think about, like, there would be in a week like 5 new songs, like, and that was it, because that was all they would post basically.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
opposed to now when it's
A million.
a million songs a day.
Yeah.
And they're all garbage, and it's kind of just impossible to even find the good ones anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you do that? Do you still like comb for new tunes?
I've started to a lot more now than ever,
How
just
do you
because of
do
the
it?
DJ sets. Honestly, I just go on SoundCloud and I just kind of go into the rabbit holes of like, if I'm like on somebody's shit that I like, I'll just see what they're liking and what they're liking or reposting, and I'll just find out about like kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I like that, and I just get a lot of like weird stuff for
Yeah.
our sets like that.
Is that the same for you guys?
Yeah.
I used to be on Hype Machine a lot, but no, not so much.
Yeah.
Mixtapes, Spotify, digging deep in Spotify, sometimes you find like a lot of just random stuff. If you actually go down there, if you like this, then you could like that. And then
The playlists are
the
ill.
playlists, yeah.
Like the Bonobo playlists are crazy.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then,
Yeah, some
shit
of
like-
those are really good.
some of the
Yeah.
Apple playlists too, and then I'll go listen to a DJ mix on. I'll just listen through a whole mix of somebody on that I like, and I'll just try to find a song. And then if I like it, and I find that producer, I find that usually if you find a producer that you like one of their songs, they've got at least 2 songs that you like.
True.
And just digging through that whole thing, But the hardest thing is I find just sometimes there's songs I hear that are regular DJs are playing. I'm just like, what the like? We'll be at a place and somebody opening for us. You'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden I know it's good because I'll look up and immediately I'll notice Greg's kind of like noticing it too. I'm like, what is that? By the time I go downstairs, it's gone. Or
Right.
I'll try to Shazam it and it's not available. I'm like, what is that? And I still find some of the best stuff is just going to a live DJ set and just listening and being like, what the fuck was that?
100%.
You can't replace train spotting.
Yeah.
No,
That's
because
so true, though.
It's true, man. Like you can't replace going to see like a DJ live and play something in context where they meant to play it and it having the desired effect, and you like seeing that, it like puts music in context so much. Like
Yeah.
there's so many even songs that I feel like I've like slept on, and then I'll go and I'll see it in context, and I'm like, this song's sick. Like
Yeah.
I get why it's like
There's
dope,
a million times where I've heard a song and been like, I don't like it, I don't get it. And then I'll hear it live or I'll hear somebody play it out and I'm just like, oh shit, this makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
And I was the one fucking up.
Yeah. Or a fun experience is like when you already like the tune and then you see it done live and you see how much other people are also like connecting to it, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. I didn't know everybody else like this song so much too, and then it makes it better.
Yeah, that can be one of those goosebumps moments for sure.
Yeah.
If you're like, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it was like, I felt like that at the Skepta show in Toronto. Like there was so many joints that they were like pulling up and like that were like such a big deal that I was like, oh man, I love these joints. I didn't know other people were like that into these joints, you know, it was dope. And to see it in Toronto where that's like the perfect context for it, because like Toronto has the right amount of like West Indian culture where you can pull something up and people understand that. And that was like a great environment to see like Skepta and, you know, it was dope.
Yeah, I'm sure. Was it a massive show?
It was like, it was pretty big. It was the same place we did our last like Toronto headline shows, Danforth Music Hall, which is like,
I've been there, yeah.
It's like a 1,400 cap kind of room or something. Yeah. It's awesome, yeah. But yeah, that was really cool.
I had an energy to that show that was like, I don't know, man. It was like NWA. Like it was so good. Like I'd never been to a show like that in like a really long time, where it's like there was such an energy in that room when he played that I remember just being there and loving some of the beats that were playing, and then like sometimes just going to a different venue and seeing different people's sets and seeing how they, you know, at certain tempos. I like to listen to certain tempos and be like, well, how could you take that tempo and do something creative with that tempo that no one else has done? Or, oh my God, he's played, that's like, oh my God, people are dancing to that tempo?
Right.
That slow? Or that fast? You're like, you know.
Well, and as a producer, I think you're always sort of looking at like what tempos aren't being used right now. Like that's almost a new way to innovate.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's how Moombahton, I thought, got invented, right? It was just like, didn't they just... Was it either slow down or sped up? Like,
yeah, it was slowed down. So it was Davenada, and and this is a real story. Yeah. I'm sure he's told it a million times, but yeah, he was playing at his high school cousin's like skip day
I heard
party.
About that, yeah.
So like the whole high school class like skipped a day and went to somebody's house to have a party. And because he's Dave just showed up and it's like, of course I'll DJ for you 14-year-olds, you know, at 12 p.m. And yeah, he was playing all these old Dutch house records, which are like 130 BPM and, you know, pretty like, you know, it's the high squeaky synths and like thick, like subby kicks, and no one was feeling it, and he slowed it down till it had that kind of like kind of feel, and they were all Latino kids. I guess they all started going crazy, and just from that weird experience, that whole genre was born.
It's a great story.
Yeah. It is.
Such a dope story,
It's like a dope genre, man. It was going so hard for a few years there.
The problem with those genres, just like trap as well, that like they become so stagnant for some reason. Like there's just something about like there's a very formulaic formula that they in the first year.
Formulaic formula.
Yes, that's a Canadian word. So it's there's something that happens where they do this thing all the time and it works for 2 or 3 years, which we all see, and then after that, just everyone just runs out of ideas, and for some reason, there's no way to grow it. I don't know why that happens, you know. But there's certain genre, and at the same time, I don't understand why there's certain genres who they can do the same thing for so long, like certain, you know, genres of house and trance, they do the same thing for like decades.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't know. I've been trying to figure out what makes that, why one genre lasts forever, another genre doesn't.
Well, I think especially in the modern era, we're seeing, you know, with the internet and SoundCloud and kind of everything just speeding up, I think we're seeing all these genres rise and fall way faster than they would have 10 or even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's just content. Everything's content now, right? So it's like the internet, like, is hungry for content. It takes it in, it regurgitates it, it iterates it like super fast until, you know, really quickly kind of it just uses up all the energy that was originally there. This is kind of my hot take on it, is that like basically, you know, when a genre starts, there's a few innovators who start it, and from them, it's like a little family tree, right?
Yeah.
You know, they have like some sons and daughters and some cousins, you know.
Totally.
And from that, then there's maybe a strong scene of, say, you know, 20, 30, 40 people who are all making really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, everyone just keeps trying to copy what that original set of people did, and they stop innovating, And I don't know why that happens, like whether it's just because people see the success that the original guys have and they want that success. And so instead of doing something different, they try to do the same thing in order to get
Probably
that same
also because
success.
the industry is at that point is feeding for it. They get on a lot faster than they should have.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of guys who, like the innovators are the ones who broke down the doors and they had to really sweat it out and create a name for themselves. But then because that genre becomes so good, then you can just anybody can just come up with something, and then before they know it, they're thrust on a stage before they're ready, and they're hyped up to be better than they are. And then you get 10 of those in 1 year and they burn out the whole thing. And I mean, that happens every year at the festivals, you know.
I also think though that there's a bit of like a hyper narrative of like things entering and becoming extinct, and a narrative more so than the actual reality of the situation. Like the reality of the situation is Moombahton hasn't really fucking gone anywhere, because One Dance and all that shit is kind of that.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what
absolutely
I mean?
true.
And it's kind of so in some ways Moombahton is the biggest pop music out right now.
That's absolutely true.
And the way people talk about like trap, like quote unquote trap music, and you know, we're the first ones to be like, we don't really want to identify as like a trap band, even though that's what like a lot of people call us. You know, I've heard a million times for years of like trap is dying, or trap is like, I don't even know what that means, man.
Yeah.
Like, look, at the end of the day, it's like trap, or if even if you want to go into what EDM trap qualifies as, even that, it's like arguably again the biggest shit in pop music right now.
Yeah.
Like in various forms.
I guess when a scene or when a genre is so called dying, what actually happens is the parties that are just based on those scenes kind of die. Like so all those like those little inbreds that you were talking about at the end of that family tree, when they're trying to, like, when they're getting booked just to get booked because it's a trap party and kids don't even care who's playing, all they know is the trap's going to be there.
Right.
They stop getting booked. And then it just like whoever's kind of remaining on that scene of people that are actually have fans, they survive, and the rest of those parties just kind of go away, and it's the next wave. Because I don't really see as many like trap parties happening as there once was.
Yeah, it is kind of a natural life cycle, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it used to be dubstep parties. Like everyone had like dub wobble night or like
and that's a great example too, because dubstep's one of those things that dubstep's still huge, but you know, it's just kind of, it took a step back for a minute, and then it's just in its own lane and it's doing great, but it's kind of, it's not not
the most exciting, it's not the thing that people gravitate to first.
Right, it's not like the trendy thing right now.
No, but there's certain acts.
No, but there's people selling mad tickets.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's kind of what I'm saying.
It's not written about, it's not in the press, it's not cool, and it's selling tickets. There's mad kids going to they're just dubstep shows.
Yeah, and it's
like,
huge. I mean,
huge.
they sell crazy tickets, and I mean, there's plenty of innovators doing cool stuff with it.
Totally. I don't know. I would probably argue the same thing still for trap shows. I just think it's a little bit different. Like, I think there's a renewed pride in dubstep. And I guess the trap thing, it's become so like diversified into like, like melodic trap or like future bass or the Soul Action stuff to the Carmacky stuff to the like really like the bangers, and it's to people who are just like rap trap that's like rap music, actual rap music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like to the really experimental, you know, stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just so diversified, but I mean, it's harder because it's so diversified now. I think it's harder to just do these like trap parties, you know what I mean? Because like, who likes Mr. Carmack is like often a totally different person from who likes like Floss. And I'm not saying they don't cross at all, but they and there's like certain artists that bridge that gap too, but it's just such a wide, it's almost like saying like rap music.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's such a, you know, there's people that like Chance and they also like, who, you know, I don't, 2 Chainz, which isn't even a stretch. That's not even a crazy stretch anymore.
Not at all. I think
you know what I mean?
Did
like,
a lot of songs together.
Yeah, they probably did a lot of songs. They did do a lot of songs together. Yeah, like 2 Chainz was on Chance's album. So nothing's crazy anymore, you know. But I think it makes it harder to do these general things. So so today it looks a little bit different. The way it's divvied up, like the way it's divided up is different. But if you actually take a step back, it's like, everybody needs to calm down. Like the whole thing didn't die. Like people are like, oh, it died a fiery death. It's like, dude, it's still around. Like I go to shows, we play shows all the time where there's quote unquote music that can be classified as trap is happening. And
No,
it's
but you got to
going
admit,
crazy.
like when dubstep was in its heyday, most of the acts on electronic festivals were all dubstep acts.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened with the trap stuff. It was like they were all
course,
trap.
but that's the
so when they
same-
say it's dying, I don't think it's dying. It's just like now there's more trap acts, so people will say dubstep died.
Yeah,
supposed
but
to
that's
attraction,
the
I guess,
same
is
with
really all it
any
is.
new shit. Like, look, like the very like new disco sounding, not even new disco sounding, but like I'm thinking of like what's that dude? Like the Alan Palamo dude. Yeah, but like the really disco-y indie stuff. It's like that was a wave for a while. Like the washed out sound was like the lo-fi like chill wave. Like that was a wave. And when those genres first came out, like those subgenres or whatever you want to call them, they were getting like. A lot of the festivals, like the Coachellas of the world, like looked very like there was a lot of chill wave, there was a lot of like disco-y indie stuff, and that kind of like changed. You know what I mean? But the acts that are still doing that are still around. You know what I mean? Like if they're still making music and they still tour and they still do their thing and there's still an audience for it, and it didn't like die. It's like everything. I think when it first comes out is like it gets this like push, and every booker wants it because it's like new. But I think it's what happens after that where it finds its footing. And I feel like all this music is kind of finding its footing, like where it's going to kind of permanently exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I think we're at the point now too, like to even take it one step back from that is, you know, you hear a lot of people talking about like the EDM bubble is bursting, or like, you know, the festival circuit is like overcrowded and it's all going to go away. And to me, it's exactly what you were just saying, Greg. It's like, it's not bursting. It's fine. It's not dying.
Yeah.
But it, you know, I think we're just at a point now where there's a lot of people who are sort of psyched and ready to see whatever's next.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, yeah, and it was dominating so much that any retraction of that makes people think, oh, it's gone. But like, it's still, and like, I think, you know, for the mass group of people, there's no experience like that. Like, you're not gonna, the summer festival electronic experience is something that I don't think anybody will ever be able to top unless there's some other type of thing that comes along that equals that energy, you know? And
Right.
it might go back into a smaller form, but it was just dominating so much the last couple of years. And I feel like it's like one of those things where when your mother and your father know who Skrillex is, or they know who whatever, that's when, and then all of a sudden they don't know who the next big guy is, you know?
Right. Or
Skrillex is headlining the Grammys, you know, or something like that. I think it was so big for a while. And I've noticed it with a lot of people, even with trap, is like a lot of guys that we know are like, I don't know what to make now. They're like, we don't know how to make this move forward. We don't know how to make it go fresh. And to me, that's what it makes it sound like it's dying. It's like no one knows how to move it forward.
And I think we are kind of at that point. I was just talking to Aryeh about that, where it's, you know, we're just at a point where there's all these cool people who are super talented, but kind of no one knows, like, you know, no one's holding the torch for whatever's next. And I don't know that one person necessarily has to hold that torch, but I think we are at a point where a lot of producers have kind of taken a step back and just gone back to the lab, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting idea, because that's interesting. Like, because, okay, so rap music has, like, there's just universal people that I feel like you respect in rap. And like Kanye is always going to be respected, right? So if Kanye's like, yeah, like I fuck with this kid or whatever, that's kind of like across the world or across the, I don't know what the expression I'm looking for, but across the board, across the thank you. I can't even talk today.
It's another Canadian expression.
Across the board, he's like an authority. I don't think that exists in trap music. I hate the fucking word trap
Well, I mean,
music.
it's fun. Well,
like,
take it to even electronic music. I mean, I think Skrillex is probably that figure. Like,
but I don't think so, because like, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I mean, if you say electronic music, it's like there's so many people that are into like electronic music and they hate Skrillex and like what that whole thing stands for. You know what I mean?
That's true. Although I feel like in recent times, Skrillex has kind of been able to move away from. Some people will always associate him for the like early dubstep stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's made a concerted effort to be like, hey guys, I do other stuff. You know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And I definitely feel like hip hop right now is dominant. You know, I feel like, you know, we were saying the other day, like the amount of artists who've come out with not only like albums in the last year, but like transformational albums, like Kendrick, Drake's new album, like Beyonce, Chance the Rapper, what's the guy's name that just won all the awards for Atlanta?
Don Glover.
Yeah, Donald Glover. Like there's so many rap albums right now. Like it's in a golden era where not only and like even like of course Kanye, but even like Rihanna's album and Beyonce, even the pop stars they're all coming out with these artistic albums for themselves that are, and I feel like that now to me is now the dominant sound because rap has now gone back, and at one point it was kind of stagnant, but then you've kind of got these genres again where people are doing really creative stuff. And I think again, I think the North American electronic scene is kind of new, and we had a first kind of era, and now it's kind of going back, something else coming, but then you have another one. And I mean, there's some kids we all know there's those 16 or 17-year-old kids that you're just like, they're doing extraordinary stuff, and they're building up their own little subcultures right now. And maybe not now, maybe in 3 years, there'll be another kid who comes up with some type of sound that, you've never imagined, and a lot of those guys in that, that like the Sangos of the world and that chill beat scene, I find do a lot of really creative stuff. It's just a smaller scene.
Right.
So, it doesn't have the legs of a bigger scene, but maybe one day we'll go to a festival and be massive stage, we'll be playing slow songs and, and kids will be slow dancing with each other. And
or maybe that's what pop radio will turn into, just like the Moombahton thing, like you were saying, Sometimes you can even skip those steps. Anyway, I know we got to wrap it up in a sec, but on that note, to bring it back to you guys, what's up for you? Are you working on album right now? You working on new music?
Yeah, we're trying to make an album. We're in the
going for it
beginning stages still, but yeah, it's we're trying.
Are you still with Dimmock?
Yeah, we're still with Dimmock. We're doing this album with them.
How much input do they have? Like, do you guys communicate much with them over the process of?
Yeah, I mean, not really on they trust us on the music tip, and that's kind of always been our relationship.
Is Aoki involved?
Not really. Like, I mean, he's involved, like he helps push it and stuff like that. But, again, it's like they've always just kind of given us our space creatively because they know that, we're just like kind of our own beast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But they're really involved with like pushing it, and they're great at that. And they're great with
really good at that.
Getting the stuff out, and they're just like on point. Like those guys do a great job. Yeah.
How did you guys link up originally?
It was
through Vandalism.
Yeah.
Is it through Vandalism?
Keith from Vandalism. Yeah.
Shout out Autoerotic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he heard me playing like demos of ours, and he was like, "Oh, I want to like send that to Dimmock," and I was like, "Cool." Just kind of went from there. They signed "Treat Me Right," I think. It's like the first single we did with them.
So that's the local scene working for you, I guess.
Yeah, man, totally. Shout out Keith, man. He's the man.
Yeah.
I'll close just by saying this. I was just going back and watching some of your guys' music videos and doing a little research yesterday, and I found something that I'm not sure even you guys are aware of, which is that you have an IMDb page, which is like, a lot of electronic artists who have, soundtracks or whatever have an IMDb page, but you guys actually have an IMDb actors page.
We do?
You are credited actors on IMDb. I wanted to see if you would know what you were credited for.
I don't even know what IMDb
It's
is.
the Internet Movie Database.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, it's like if you care about movies at all, if you Google a movie, the IMDb page is what comes up first. It's basically like Wikipedia for movies.
Right, okay.
We have a page for real?
You have a page, which is...
individually or?
No, for Keys N Krates.
It's pretty funny.
For musicians, like a lot of musicians, if you're on a soundtrack, you'd have a page, but you're actually credited as actors.
It's from that.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's from a documentary. We did a documentary for EDM music, electronic music documentary, and we did it way, way long ago.
I remember that.
We did it in a trailer.
Don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
I do.
And it was a long time ago. It was a Canadian documentary, but we did the doc in the States.
Is that what it is?
I'm sorry to tell you, that's not what you are credited for.
Is it for the comedy thing that we did in LA?
Yeah, that's
cool.
The what?
It's for
Rogers
one episode of NCIS Ibiza.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
Sick. The Funny or Die thing.
Funny or Die. That's it.
Yeah. And I went back and watched that, and if anyone listening hasn't watched that, just Google NCIS Ibiza
Tune throwing Nile Rogers out of the club?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what was that like?
I was so worried about like hurting him. It's my acting debut.
Did we not chase him around the
We didn't chase him around.
But didn't we run through we shot, I never even actually watched anything, but I remember us running around, they shot us running around the club with like fake guns and
I think Greg, you had a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Did you have like a glass of lemonade or something in your hand or something like that when they took a shot of us at the end?
That was Greg, I think, yeah. We'll have to go back and watch it. Watch ourselves.
That was ridiculous, yeah.
We usually don't watch our work after we perform it. Usually we just, let it exist.
Well, I just wanted to say, man, you guys are actor, DJ, model, everything.
and go-go dancer.
That's right. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for doing this. It's always awesome to see you, and I'm super happy to see everything going so well for you guys.
Oh, thanks, man. Likewise, man.
Yeah, thank you. All right, that's the show. Thanks so much to Keys N Krates for coming through and chopping it up with me. How great are those guys? Just some of the best dudes, making some of the coolest music in such an interesting way. And you really do get the sense that even though they're so deep in the game already, it also feels like they're just getting started at the same time. So much potential, so much talent there. I really can't wait to see what the album is going to sound like. Thank you guys for listening. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe to us. Make sure to rate and review the show on iTunes. And we want to hear from you. Any thoughts you guys have? Anyone you want to see on the show? If you want to yell at me or if you want to send me a funny joke. Either way, willyjoypromo@gmail.com. Hit me up. I love hearing from you guys. Love interacting with people who are enjoying the show. I hope you guys have a great week. My name is Willy Joy. You can follow me on all social media @Willy Joy. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Next week's episode, by the way, is probably one of the biggest ones we've ever done. It's really, really, really cool. So don't miss it. That's all I'm going to say for now, but stay tuned. Have a good week, guys. Bye.